Hi, everyone. I'm Marnie Florin. I've been at Google a little over 6 years, and I am so honored to open today's Talks at Google session. Talks at Google provides an incredible opportunity to have conversations that matter with world leaders. Today, we are incredibly excited to talk with Sue Bird about resilience in basketball. And personally, I am really excited to have Sue here because of her unwavering commitment to allyship and activism. As a non-binary person, I know how important it is to have allies step up for me during difficult times. And Sue has done that time and time again through her platform as a WNBA player and as vice president of the WNBA Players Union. Moderating the conversation with Sue will be Dr. Frances Armas Edwards. Frances sits in people development, where she is an equity, diversity, and inclusion subject matter expert, a learning experience designer, and founding member of Google's Inclusive Learning and Development team. She'll host this conversation from Harlem, where she's been quarantining with her wife, her 7-month-old daughter, Eden, and their naughty Chiweenie, Godiva. Frances, over to you.
Thanks so much, Marnie. We're so excited to be here today to welcome 4-time WNBA Championship winner Sue Bird to discuss her career journey and how she's persevered throughout her 20-plus year career as a professional basketball player in a male-dominated sport. She'll also share how she uses her unique platform to advocate for equity across all dimensions. Sue Bird's a professional basketball player for the Seattle Storm currently of the Women's National Basketball Association. Having been drafted by the team as the first overall pick in the 2002 WNBA draft, Bird has won a joint record 4 WNBA championships with the Storm in 2004, 2010, 2018, and in 2020. 4 Olympic gold medals in 2004, 2008, 2012, and 2016, 2 NCAA championships with the University of Connecticut in 2000 and 2002, and 4 FIBA World Cups in 2002, 2010, 2014, and 2018. She's one of only 11 women to attain all 4 of these accolades. She's also a 5-time EuroLeague champion and a great friend, sister, and aunt who's excited to talk to us today.
Hi.
Hi, Sue. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm so excited to jump in here. I was thinking we could start with some this or that. So I'm going to give you 2 choices and you just tell me which one you prefer. Okay? Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Smart. Seattle or
man, Seattle or New York? Oh, I'm going to go home, New York, but it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. In-N-Out or Shake Shack?
Shake Shack. I've only been in and out like twice.
Fair. When you're on vacay, itinerary or go with the flow?
Probably leaning towards itinerary, but I don't like to do anything.
Own it.
And I'm like, but simultaneously, I just want to lay there. So that's the only thing on the itinerary. Just lay there.
But a plan is good. Good. Yeah. Burritos or tacos? Yeah.
Burritos.
Nice. City living or quiet town?
City living.
Mm-hmm. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Mm-hmm. The book or the movie?
Probably the movie. Nice. I should say the book.
We're all friends here. It's okay. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Mm-hmm. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Mm-hmm. Big wedding or intimate ceremony?
Intimate ceremony.
Love that. Air Max 90s or Dunks?
Ooh, Dunks.
Mm-hmm. Running late or always early?
Always early.
Mm-hmm. Real life or Animal Crossing?
Wait, what was the first one?
Real life,
real life
or Animal Crossing?
Real life.
NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
Backstreet Boys.
I thought you might say that. Did some digging and thought you might have some allegiance there.
I figured you did when that just got out. So.
Amazing. And then what about when you're working out? Intense workout playlist or more low-key vibes in a quiet workout environment?
You know, I'm going to say intense workout playlist, but I'm kind of going into this whole podcast workout. So that's more chill, but it's like the story, kind of you get lost in the story and all of a sudden your workout's over. I like that part.
That's awesome. Nice. Beyonce or is really an or?
It's okay, Beyonce.
Thank you. Okay, great. We can move on now. So love that. So I'm really excited to talk to you and just am so inspired by your journey and wanted to start with just kind of the grounding focus we have for this talk. And words have meaning. And so we're here to think a bit about resilience. So I want us to start there. The Indo-European root of resilience is SEL, means to jump. So resilience calls us to experience failure and then to decide to recommit and jump back in or keep going, even though that failure might happen again. Can you share about a failure that really startled you and caused you to have to really decide to jump back into being yourself?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the adversity that I've hit in my career has come in the form of injuries. And what makes it hard is there's this moment. So just to give some color, I've had, I think, something like 10, 11 surgeries. And of those, like 8 or 9 were on my lower extremities, like my hips, my knee. And so what happens in those moments is you don't know what you're going to be like after. So it can dramatically change who you are physically. So that can dramatically change who you are as a basketball player. And I think what I found in those moments, and I was lucky to have a lot of people help me. This was not found by myself by any means, but I found that it was less like going through your career is less about trying to avoid the moments of adversity when it's going to hit, and more about finding out, or more about embracing the fact that they're coming. They're inevitable. And it's all about how you handle them. And it's all about how you attack them and understanding that it's probably going to help you on the other side. So once for me, I should say, once I kind of acknowledged all that, again, embraced it, I was like, okay, this sucks. I feel like crap. I don't know what's going to happen to me. This could totally derail my career, yada, yada, yada. But then it was like, I also have this moment to show what I'm made of. I have this moment to test my character. I have this moment to prove to really myself, but also others, that I can overcome anything. And I kind of almost got like addicted to that in a way. So when the moment came about, it didn't scare me anymore. I was excited for it. And that's like the way in which my resilience has kind of taken form. It actually happened this summer. We were in the bubble. We had a shortened season, and then I suffered an injury early on. And I just had to sit and watch like half the games. And it was tough. It was probably one of the more challenging experiences because we were in this bubble. I couldn't really get away from anything. But I also knew, like, all right, come playoff time, when I knew I would be healthy, I was like, this is my chance. This is just another opportunity. So now I kind of seek out those opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And how do you, can you talk a little bit about just like how you show up as a teammate during that injury, even though you have to be physically there?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because so much of what's happening and what they're going through, I just can't, if you're not playing, you're not going to experience it. So there's like this detachment that happens. And so your goal has to be to stay connected. I just try to do it. I mean, this is like years of practice, sadly, but I just try to do it by, being supportive, being helpful where I can, and just like on an interpersonal level, staying connected to individuals. And then that helps me stay connected to the larger group. Because like I said, I'm just not gonna have the same, I'm probably gonna miss some inside jokes that they might have had of something that happened in a game. I'm just not gonna be a part of that. So like I said, I try to just make sure I stay in it with individuals and hang out with everybody kind of off the court more so than on the court. And then I feel that for me personally, that keeps me connected when I know my relationships are still thriving.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. So as an extroverted introvert myself, meaning so I'm happy to talk with others, but I need time to recharge and really identify with you as an introvert. I found learning about your reflections on the different Sues super inspiring. So can you talk about how you came to have different personalities on and off the court and what that strategy has meant for you, both in your game and in relationships?
Sure. So I'm definitely on the shyer spectrum of things. Less now than when I was younger. When I was younger, I was super shy. And it was probably college. My college coach, Gino Auriemma at Connecticut, he really challenged me in this whole like double personality thing. And he basically could see things in me. It was interesting because he could see things in me off the court that he wanted on the court. But then he could also see things in me on the court that he wanted off the court. So it was kind of this interesting relationship that happened. But he just challenged me. He was like, listen, you can be shy, you can be introverted in your own way, but your personality on the court as a leader, as the point guard of this team, can't be those things. You have to be invested in people. You have to be, I mean, the way he worded it, to be honest, was just everything on the floor. He literally told me this. He was like, all right, everything that happens on the floor is your fault. And I was kind of like, I don't get it. He was like, I don't care if, so-and-so over there throws the ball out of bounds, it's your fault. And I actually fought it at first, not outwardly, but on the inside, I was like, how am I supposed to, prevent someone from doing those things? But then as time went, I kind of understood he was just trying to get me to have this personality, to have my fingerprints all over everything as a leader. And I did have to step outside of my shell a little bit to do that. But eventually, over time, it just became the norm. And I think I was very quick on the court to adjust to being more vocal, to adjust to being more extroverted, I guess we could just say. And then as time went, the on the court and the off the court kind of just came this one person. I think to your point, I'm similar in that I thrive. I love hanging out with my friends. I love being with people, but there's like an exhaustion that happens. So I do need to like go home and I can also sit at home for a full week and be totally content. So it's like, and it's finding that balance, but that's kind of how it all has happened. There are times when you have to go outside of your comfort zone in that way to have growth. And I'm just really lucky that early on, when I was like 17, 18 years old, I had somebody challenge me in that way.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk more about just like how you've evolved over time since that time. So one thing that I think is really incredible is that you join a long-standing and growing legacy of American athletes who serve as cultural icons and advance public discourse by advocating for civil rights, more equitable living and work conditions, and having America, frankly, live up to some of its greatest values. How does it feel? How does it feel to kind of have that mantle? And then how are you managing using your platform as we close this year and look into 2021?
I don't really think about it that way because I feel like what happened for me was, I got drafted in 2002 and it was a totally different time. And as a female athlete, it's like, it's interesting because I don't know that I had a moment where somebody told me to be more feminine and told me, that sex sells in sports and like actually said these words, but like I knew, like stuff was happening where like it was just, I knew that was what we were pushing. And it's just so almost embarrassing, to be honest, to look back at that time and see some of the commercials that we did with the WNBA and to see how we were marketing and promoting ourselves. And it wasn't until years later, I mean, by years, like we're talking 15 or so, where you look back and it was just like, we were not being genuine. I was not being genuine to who I was. And what I found is there's something to authenticity that, now it's easy to say, back then it wasn't as easy, but people are drawn to that. I feel like when you're authentic, no matter who you are, what you're doing, when you're just being true, it's almost like a bullshit sensor that people have. Like they can sense when you're not being real and they're kind of put off by that. So no matter what you're doing in life, for me, it's a leader, for my team. It's being vocal off the court as well and fighting for a lot of things you just mentioned. And I just feel like I want to be genuine in that. I want to be authentic in that. And I also realize as a female athlete in this country, just our existence in this world is kind of this mini protests. We're kind of going against, like I said, all those things that somehow I knew in 2002 was what was like considered normal. And so we've just, as a league, as individual players, we've just kind of grown up in this way and found, our authentic selves as individuals and as a league. And we found this voice and we found kind of who we are. And once you taste that, and this is kind of to answer the second part of your question, once you kind of get a taste of that, and it's not even about, it's been amazing to see some of the positive impact we've had. So it is about that, but it's almost more just about having that feeling and just seeing how, I don't know, how rewarding it is, how you sleep at night a little lighter. And there's something about that. And I just hope that we all kind of carry that, what we've learned in this year, and carry that with us into 2021.
I love that. I love that so much. It also feels like your identity as this incredible team sports player has informed your ability to understand intersectionality. It seems like you use your privilege and platform to confront racism and systemic inequality. So when we think about pay equity in sports, also in Black Lives Matter movement, could you talk a bit about how, as a white woman, you see your voice and advocacy mattering for social issues such as the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yeah, absolutely. Where to begin? I mean, I feel like there's the one thing I've learned is there's no like one answer to this. Just like there's no one way to be an advocate, there's no one way to be an ally, there's no one way to do any of this. It's so like intricate in its own way that you have to show up in different ways at different times. I've definitely learned that. I've learned it by having conversations, by having tough conversations, by listening. So the way I see it is there are times where, as a white woman, I need to shut the F up, right? And I need to back up, and I need to, again, a lot of what I've experienced is within the framework of the WNBA. So I need to not allow, that's actually not the right word at all. I need to understand that we need to amplify these Black women's voices. So this summer is a great example of that. And so as a white player, I knew I needed to take a step back. I also knew I needed to learn. I needed to listen. I need to hear stories. I need to understand people's experiences, because there's no way for me to fully know. I do feel, I mean, to say lucky, again, not the right word, but you'll get what I'm saying. I feel lucky in that I've been surrounded by these like strong Black women my whole life in terms of my teammates, seeing their families. So in some ways, I already, to me, it was almost surprising that white people didn't know certain things. Cause like for me, it was like, yeah, my college roommate, she's a Black woman. My college roommate would tell me this stuff all the time. How do you not know? So that's a whole other topic. But so simultaneously, there were other times where I knew that my voice had this weight, and it would be like, negligent for me to not use it. And I make the analogy being a gay woman, understanding that being gay and being Black are not the same. Like our walks in life are not the same. But I do think that the one similarity is when you're somebody kind of going through a tough time, and somebody who doesn't look like you, or maybe doesn't have the same sexual orientation, whatever, when it's somebody different from you, when they have your back, that there's a weight there. That just means something, and it's different, especially in our society. So as a white person, there is a little bit, if I can have a Black person's back, the same way as a gay person, if somebody straight supports me, there's a different weight there. So I guess for me, the way I've tried to show up is kind of in those two ways, when to speak and when not to. But like all the while in the background, just being any kind of support I could. So a quick example would be this summer, we were dealing, with some issues with a, owner of one of our teams who happens to be a senator. A lot was happening. And I think for our Black players, it was having to, there's so much trauma. And when these moments were presenting themselves, and this is just one of them this summer, it's like being re-traumatized by it. And so what I could do as a white player was, from like a organizational standpoint, I could take a lot of the load off, because there were things we needed to do as a league. And so I could be behind the scenes. Nneka Ogwumike, who's the president of our executive committee, I could just text Nneka and be like, hey, listen, this is a lot. Tell me what I can do to like lighten that load. And so, like I said, it was just these are just quick examples of my experience this summer, but it was just, you know, bobbing and weaving, if you will, discovering the ways in which I could show up in the right way in the right moment.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I think just that awareness that you're discussing
one
is
thing really fast.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to add, I don't want to forget to add, you're going to make mistakes in that. Like there's going to be mistakes. And I think the one thing I learned was you can't get like hurt by them or bogged down by them or let them turn you off from the bigger, the larger picture work that's happening.
Yeah. You can, but it's abdicating a really important responsibility and mantle, right? So we really appreciate you coming to that conclusion and being a voice for things that matter. So that's awesome. So I love reading your bio aloud, and I did read every year that you won aloud on purpose because it's just receipts on receipts on receipts for what has been a tremendous career. And so even with that, even when you're at the pinnacle of success, it can be really hard to see yourself as you are and to the Sue that the world sees being the Sue that you understand yourself to be in. Could you talk a little bit about the moment or moments when you really felt you were able to find and stand in your own leadership and your leadership voice?
Yeah, it's a good question. To be honest, sometimes I think I'm still waiting for that moment. Like I have moments where I understand it, and then I have moments where I almost have like PTSD or something. As a female athlete, we've always been this, like, especially when we're compared to our NBA counterpart, we're always viewed as less than. And I think for a long time, I internalized that. And it's something I still fight. To be honest, you know, a lot of people ask me like, oh, what inspires you? And I'm kind of like, all the younger players in our league, because they, you know, they just are from a different time. I mean, and it's true. Like I'm 40, my youngest teammate, well, I think my youngest teammate's actually like, well, she just turned 20, which is just so wild to work with somebody. Like, it's just so, she was a teenager. Anyways, yeah, movies and music are always like a very, you know, hot topic on our bus trips. Anyways, so yeah, like these younger players, they're just from a different generation, and they expect to be treated equal. They expect to be paid equal. They expect, you know, the same. They expect more. And it inspires the crap out of me because that wasn't me. I was like happy with what I had, happy what was given to me when I first came into the league, just happy to be there. So in a lot of ways, they've inspired me. So yeah, I teeter-totter between like understanding my place and, you know, my leadership and what it means. And then also kind of having to fight that PTSD off. So it's been, you know, I'm still on that journey as well.
Yeah, I love that. Do you, I think a lot of times with leaders in intergenerational groups, sometimes do you find yourself kind of having to check yourself like, wait, maybe the youth are right? Like, do you have any moments like that where you're kind of like, it could be that way? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the most recent I can think of is in our recent CBA negotiations. Our collective bargaining agreement was up. And in pretty much all of 2019 and a little bit into 2020, we were in these negotiations. And I have to say, it was only like a small percentage at the time, but there were definitely times where, you know, a younger player would come out and tweet something like, we deserve charter flights. So charter flights and flying is like, you know, a hot button, if you will, in our league. Because, you know, the NBA charters, I think a lot of people view chartering as like, you've made it in professional sports. Meanwhile, it's like a luxury in that way. Like it shouldn't define your league making it or not, but whatever. But these players would come out and be like, we deserve to charter. And there was the little voice in my head was like, well, it's not about deserving or not. Like there's a thing called money and you kind of need it and it costs a lot to charter. But the more they push the envelope on something like that, the more I started to see like, oh no, you need to push, you need to. And what do you know, like 2019 summer, I won't bore you with the logistics, but there were like 2 teams in the playoffs dealing with a really tight turnaround in travel. And the league stepped up and chartered them a plane. There was 2 planes that were chartered to take these teams cross country. So here I was being like the practical, like, well, we got to be careful what we ask for. And these younger players are like, nah, F that. Like we need charters. So, you know, at times there are moments where I'm like, I need to just shut up and let them push.
Yeah, well, that's powerful. And I think definitely a bigger message for the moment that we're in, when I think so much has been gained, but then there's also so much that the next generation that's coming is asking for and is saying that they need. And so that's really meaningful to hear. So you've also taken up a leadership mantle on the Players Union, which we've kind of gotten into a little bit. Oh, hey, Madam VP, other VP, it's like Kamala and you, no? Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine. Okay.
Like Kamala me, but.
Can you talk a bit about how you serve the needs of the team in that role and net results and transforming mindsets of leaders and decisions? You've talked a little bit about the balancing, but I think for folks who are navigating business transactions, talking to leaders, just needing to speak truth to power, what are some of the things that you think you're bringing to that new role and leadership position that others might learn from?
Yeah, so two things stick out. So first is kind of to piggyback on what we were just talking about. There are definitely times where this younger generation was pushing me in a way, but the one thing I have is this experience. And it's hard to trade it in because I've lived through the journey of the WNBA. So I've lived through the journey of this company, so to speak. And so I've seen every step of the way where mistakes were made, what worked, what didn't. And so that experience, what I found, and I didn't realize it at first, is just so valuable. So valuable that it actually gives my voice amongst the players this weight that I have to be careful. I have to take care of it. I can't abuse it. Not that I would, but you know what I mean? I understand when I say something, I can't just be spitting some random stuff or some whack stuff, because there's value there. So I've had to learn that. And the other thing was, I think I've kind of viewed myself as, for a long time, just I'm an athlete. So I'm this professional athlete, and I knew it was getting me in rooms that, not everybody can get in. And I knew it was giving me experiences that not everybody would experience. I've literally lived in Russia, full time for 10 years, not 10 years in a row, but for 7 months a year for 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's experiences there that, so I knew I had this wealth of knowledge and experience, but I still would maybe walk in a room and, with the CBA negotiations, that room is filled with, our union director and the people who help us with our union, lawyers, different financial people. And then on the other side, there's the league, which is the commissioner and, the people that work for her, and so on and so forth. So when I walk in that room, or when I did first walk in that room, I would kind of feel a little like this, okay, what do I know? These people are lawyers and they've worked in business their whole lives. They must know way more than me. And I started to see, I was I don't know, different things would come up and I would be but what about X, Y, and Z? And it would be oh yeah, good point. And the more that those things happen, I started to realize wait a minute, I'm actually the smartest person in this room. And I think as an athlete, and especially as a woman, we have a tendency to walk in rooms and not necessarily feel that way. And that's really what my role at the executive committee has helped me see. I need to walk in rooms, not being cocky or anything like that, but just having a confidence about what I know and what I don't know, and being, again, fully confident in that, and being able to have those conversations in a different way. I almost felt like a little kid, and now I feel like an adult.
Yeah, believing that you deserve to be there and that you haven't stuck into the party, I think, is the first step in really adding value. And that's so powerful to hear you reflect on. So speaking of Russia, you've become who you are, I think, often being physically far away from places and people you call home. So 2020 has called all of us to reimagine our relationships and staying connected in spite of distance. How do you stay connected to your loved ones during your time away, for instance, while you were in Russia? And how are you coping and thriving through 2020?
Yeah, I mean, as the negotiations were happening for this WNBA bubble, aka the wubble, that we just experienced this summer, we knew we were going to be, stuck in the same place for 3 months. All of us were kind of we'll be fine. This is just overseas. If we're actually made for this, sadly. And that's kind of how 2020 has been for me. I'm, again, using the word lucky. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm lucky that I experienced what I did being away, learning the importance of staying connected, finding ways to do that, not just, an email, but maybe some more unique ways, especially if it's a relationship you're trying to nurture that's long distance. So I think I'm just like everyone else. It's nothing.
No, but like concretely, like, are you FaceTiming morning and evening?
Yeah, no.
You got like a game night coming up. Like, what's your steves? What's happening there?
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So I think I'm just like everybody else. It's like a lot of FaceTimes. Through this pandemic, shout out to Liz Ott if she's on the call. There was there's like a group of friends of mine, I think it's like 6, 7, 8 of us, who did like a brunch bunch. And so every Sunday we would get on FaceTime, and I'm not joking, we'd get on at 11 and we'd kind of like pour a mimosa and we'd be like cooking our breakfast our brunch in the back. And then we'd sit down and we all kind of share this moment. And I swear, before you knew it, it was like 10 p.m. and we were like, well, I guess we should go. We would just stay on all day. Yeah, every Sunday through pretty much, I would say March, April, May, June, like 4 solid months every Sunday.
Wow.
And and I knew the importance of that from my life in Russia, where you had to take time. Back then it was Skype. Skype was like, you couldn't go I had Skype on my phone, Skype on my iPad, Skype over here, Skype over there. Skype was like my lifeline. And, the face-to-face, even though I'm not a huge fan of FaceTime, to be honest, I like it with certain people, but I'm not just going to be FaceTiming everybody. But I understand also like the face-to-face part is important. And then you also kind of see like who you're willing to spend your time with, and not in a bad way. It's just, you have to, you have to save some time for yourself. And for me, I was with Megan, I guess my fiance, I haven't said that out loud. I was with Megan the entire quarantine.
Okay.
Like, and like, we need our own time. So you can't just be FaceTiming all day. So then you start to see like what's important, what needs everyday care, what needs maybe once a week, once a month check-ins, that kind of stuff.
I love that. Liz is on, and she's like, oh, hey. So happy for the shout out from Liz. Hey, Liz. So how are you looking forward to recharging and celebrating the holiday season safely as we close the year, given all of that and given what's been going on?
Yeah. To be honest, Megan and I didn't do anything for Thanksgiving, just us here. Probably not going to do anything for Christmas. We're also in Seattle, and neither of our families are here. So my answer might be different if I was in New York. What I will say is the times we have done things with, friends. We've tried to get tested and tried to quarantine the right amount of time and tried to do things to make it carefree. I mean, my big struggle with the quarantine stuff, or not the quarantine stuff, with like COVID protocols and whatnot is this, so this is just me personally talking. And the other thing I would like to say is I really try not to judge people, because I feel like we're all doing the best we can. And it's tough. So it's like the last thing you need is, especially a stranger coming out and judging you. For me personally, when I think about going to a friend's for dinner, I'll just use that as an example. I'm like, is the stress surrounding all of it is the enjoyment worth the stress? And for me, a lot of times it's not. And maybe I acknowledge I might be in a position of privilege that I can kind of make those decisions. But sometimes it's just not. The stress to me is not worth it. As an athlete, the thing that I think gets both me and Megan the most is we don't know the long-term effects of COVID. So that stresses me out a little bit. Like, I don't want to have, a problem with my lungs or my heart, that's going to impact my play, because it directly impacts my work, so to speak. So we try to be as careful as possible. But yeah, for the holidays, we're just going to be like a lot of people and hitting up those Zoom calls.
And I think that's going to be fine. And we're going to find fun ways to do it. I have a daughter that was born in April, a pandemic baby, who still has not met my mother. And so it's been really, really hard. But it's really heartening to hear you say, like, we're a bunch of us are making really hard decisions right now, and we're going to get through this together. So yeah.
No, I can't imagine that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fine. Like, Yeah, it's gonna be
it will
great.
be fine.
There were tears earlier on. Yeah, there were tears earlier on, but now I'm like, yeah, we're in a pandemic with a baby. Here we go. It's fine. So, I love hearing you talk about Megan. Congratulations on the engagement. It's such an incredible milestone and something to celebrate. I want to talk a little bit about coming out. So you publicly came out in 2017, confirming your relationship with Bey, now fiance Megan. Can you talk a bit about your journey with coming out and how you knew it was the right time to do so?
Yeah, sure. The short of it is I had been openly gay, and by openly I'll say, so my family, my friends, people in the Seattle Storm organization, down the street, I would hold hands with a girlfriend or whatever the case from like 2000, and my agents knew, which is actually like a big, because they're the ones representing you. And my agents knew probably from 2000, I can't remember, 4 to 2017. So for all intents and purposes, I was out in my life. Like I wasn't hiding anything. Now, if I was sitting with, maybe I just met somebody on some sort of work trip and they kind of assumed like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? I wasn't quick to be like, oh no, I don't because I'm gay. I didn't do that. So that was kind of, that's kind of where I was living. I was living in this gray area, but I didn't really realize it was a gray area until I met Megan, and Megan kind of explained the importance of coming out publicly. So being open and being out. And it's kind of, I would joke, I'd be like, so let me get this straight. I have to tell a reporter and that's going to mean I'm out. I'm not out before that. And it's in some ways ridiculous, but once I did it and leading up until that moment, I understood the value, the importance, and why I needed to do that, like as this public figure. So 2017 comes, and Megan and I have been dating for a year at that point-ish, maybe not quite a year, but close to it. And I mean, I joke with her, like I was already gay by, association, because she's just like so gay and so open and so everything. So we had been seen out here and seen out there. So I knew people knew, but again, it was this moment of like, I have to say it. So it wasn't about like when it felt right. It was just about the journey for me that got to that point. And this is just kind of how it happened. But then once I did come out, that's when I fully started to understand like what it meant and why coming out is so important for a public figure, for an athlete. And, when I was starting to get different reactions and people being like, oh, because of you, I had the strength to come out, or, oh, because of you, there was one woman who I think was in her 60s, and she's like, because of you, I decided to finally marry my partner, like, and then tell my family. Yeah, just like, so not just young people, like all kinds of people. So that's when I started to see like, okay, I need to come out. So hopefully years from now, it's not even a big deal. It's not even a thing, but you need this visibility, you need this presence. And also what I found was how it benefited me more than anybody. It was a little bit of a weight off my shoulders. I thought I was living openly. And then I found out like what living openly and authentically really was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. In adult development, we talk about you're doing this job that nobody's paying you for when you're concealing or hiding something about yourself. And so it actually takes a lot of cognitive bandwidth. And that's really inspiring to hear. And I'm really thankful for you and your story and your visibility and being out. And also, as you traverse this journey and getting married and starting your family, it's just a really exciting thing. And yay. So also, I hear you have an incredible sneaker collection. And so I need to ask a few questions about that. I'm not a sneakerhead, so Lauren has helped me. I'm like studying to be able to, talk about this. First of all, how many pair of sneakers are in this collection?
I have no idea. I mean, I have like a sneaker collection, and then I kind of have like a basketball sneaker collection. So all in, basketball might even be more. So all in, I mean, I'm sure it's over 1,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is a high number. Okay. Yes. Amazing.
Pretty much our
And
entire
then,
storage unit at this point is sneakers. Our entire storage unit is sneakers at this point. Yeah.
Do you like decorate with them? Like, how are you, showcasing different ones? Like, how's that happen?
Yeah, starting to. So basically we have some, like I have an actual closet that the shoes are in, but then we've started to do like shelving outside of the closet. Because it is in some ways like some of these sneakers are rare or valuable to me. I have every single pair of shoes from all my championships. So I've saved all of that. Yeah. So, and those are things that are kind of, I think they have value, but they're also kind of like arty, like they've got some art to them. So to showcase them, and those so we're starting to do that. We have an office that kind of does that. And then, like I said, this shelving unit outside of our closet that can kind of showcase those things. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you have a favorite sneaker of that thousands of shoes? Yeah.
Of the thousands of one favorite? That's tough. I think right now and probably forever, last year, Kyrie, without me knowing, Kyrie Irving, the Kyrie 5 had just come out, and he hooked me up with a pair that was dedicated to me called like the Keep Sue Freshes. And it had all of my, it was pretty crazy. It had all of my achievements kind of in this like graffiti style, if you will. And on the back, it says Keep Sue Fresh. And what it started, or how it started, was he was in a meeting with some Nike folks, and he was just like, I want to make sure Sue has all the newest Kyries, like all this, all that. He's like, we got to keep Sue fresh. And then thus the Keep Sue Freshes were born. And they actually were sold, which for, not in 10 plus years has a woman had a signature shoe. So,
wait,
and it's not.
So you broke up right then. So I want you to say it again because it sounded important. They were actually what now?
They were sold. So this model of Kyrie 5s, the Keep Sue Freshes, you could buy them. And for women, this isn't like a signature shoe by any means, but for women, that doesn't happen often. Not even a PE personal edition, not even PEs are really sold. So this was like a big deal, and they sold out super fast. So I'd be lying if I said those aren't going to go down as my favorites.
I mean, wow, that's incredible. That's so awesome. And I also hear that, like me, it's magical having a partner that's the same gender as you, but it also sometimes they cut into your closet, and I hear that's something you're managing. And I just, let me know if you ever need to get help with having conversations about sharing and boundaries with the sneakers, because I get it.
Yeah, I mean, the saddest part of our relationship is we don't wear the same shoe size. It's just, it's just killer. She's like a little too small, and my foot's a little too big. But I've said this, it's like, if she has something that I just absolutely need to wear, I'll take the soles out and I'll make it work. And then on the flip side, she's like double socked it a couple times to get
just double socks. That's it. It's better for her, for the smaller.
It is way better for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I suffered. But I do it again.
Such suffering. Amazing. Well, we've got a few other this or that's coming through. We've got dunk lows versus dunk highs.
That just depends on the day you ask me. I think dunk low all time, but the dunk highs are dope too. So.
Amazing. And then pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Ooh, okay. That's all right. We're still okay. We're okay.
We're still okay. I think French toast
still okay.
overall.
That actually was the secret correct answer for me. And I thank you for saying that. Amazing. Great choice. So, awesome. So with that, I think we're going to transition now to some questions from folks who are joining us. And those are going to be coming in now. There they are. Okay. So hi, Kyla or Kayla. Kayla's a former athlete here. They ask, what do you think needs to change in sports or athletics for mental health to be taken more seriously?
So I actually think this is already happening, which is great. It's more, what has to happen is people have to remove that stigma, and it has to, whether we're talking about your teammates, a coach, people who are in those decision-making roles, like a GM, a coach also, it can't be looked at as a weakness. So that stigma has to be taken away. Mental health and dealing with those issues, it can't be looked at as a weakness. It should never be looked at as a weakness. And then along the same lines, and this is starting to happen, you need to have help. There needs to be people available, resources available to athletes, which, like I said, it's really changing. So when we just did our CBA, that was one of the things, like one of the top line items that we needed to have, just like a carve out for mental health, whether it's a way in which you can speak to somebody, and you as the athlete having the choice of the team knowing or not. So the team has to provide it, and they have to give you ways in which you can be supportive, but you get to decide if you want the team to know or not, if you want to be more private. Because I think a lot of times people would reach out more for help, but they don't want people knowing. It's a private matter. Right. So it's all changing. I mean, thankful, for people like Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, Elizabeth Cambage in our league, Kayla McBride recently. Athletes are speaking up more. And like anything, when people talk about things, it becomes a little bit more normalized.
That's right.
And it becomes the norm. So like I said, we're heading down the right path.
Yes, I love that. And it's so important. And for people to grow in their ability to talk about themselves in like all kinds of dimensions of their identity, I think gives way to the same kind of affirmation and celebration of the human spirit that you kind of experience with your coming out story. So I'm really excited to hear that's unfolding in the league. Any other questions from?
Especially like athletes. I was going to say athletes. There's this like toughness thing we're constantly battling. Like, don't show your weaknesses. And I think, again, it's more about where I'm going to land on this, I think, is it's more about changing that conversation of it being a weakness. It's not. It's not a weakness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions from folks who are joining us today?
Here we go.
Oh, what do you think it will take for the WNBA to get the credit that it deserves, both on and off the court? If you could wave a magic wand, what would you want to see happen?
So I think for me, the thing that really bugs me the most, and I'm guilty of it at times, so it's we're all a work in progress. I hate being compared to the NBA because being compared to them, it's just we're always, like I said earlier, like looked as lesser than. When you're compared to somebody who's making $26 million a year, I think we're all making less than that. Like, who's making that? Why is that the comparison? And then it can even go like more granular, like our CBA was just copy and pasted from theirs. And our league is different. Our league needs its own rules, its own CBA, its own business model. We need to stop being compared and then, viewed as less than. And I think the biggest thing within that is really just from the outside world, so to speak, like the media coverage. It's like when the WNBA, it's been like proven, I don't have the numbers off top, but when the WNBA is on TV, when women's sports is on TV, people take interest in it. A lot of times you're just like men's sports is just so much ingrained in us because it's just, you can't avoid it. Women's sports, you can't find it. So we need the media coverage to be built back up, or not back up, need to be built up. And then like sponsorship, we need to be viewed, if I could wave the magic wand, we're not a charity, we're an investment, and we need to be invested in based on our potential, not like our current bottom line. Because the NBA, not that I just said don't compare, and here I am, but the NBA was invested in based on potential and what could happen, the growth. And I think our league is constantly being looked at like, oh, you don't make money, why would I invest? That's a bad investment. But that's not how men's sports is invested in. Yet we're held to that standard. All you hear about is the WNBA losing money. You never hear about the NBA's money issues. So that to me is kind of where all the trouble is.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really powerful. And I'd also like to just double down. If you were to begin to imagine what's at stake if this problem was fixed, what are some of the things you think that might be different in the world if it just was fixed tomorrow?
I think so. Sports has proven that it really is kind of this glimpse of what your society is like. And again, it's not about the dollars. It's really not. It's just about like people, I think when they hear us say, we want to equal pay, it's not that I think I should walk into on a basketball court and get the same amount of money. I respect business and revenues. But I think if your sports were viewed the same and treated the same, you know, there's something about when I go on my Instagram and I've posted a picture of some sort of basketball, you know, whatever, and I have all these, you know, young boys, because sometimes I go in the profiles, I want to see who's writing this crap, and they're telling me to get back in the kitchen. Like, that's an issue. And I just feel like if women's sports were on more of a level playing field, I don't know, there's a glimpse into your society and on what the values of your society are. So that's kind of, I mean, that's a reason, I think, for all women really, but there is something about sports that gives you that glimpse.
Yeah, I think it also speaks to leadership. And we've seen this year, 2020, the countries that were led by women at the senior most levels are the ones that were able to really deal with the pandemic and offer health and certainty to their country and to people across the nation better. And so I think the more that we're able to get leadership and valuing and respecting women right in every dimension of our society, will be better for it. So I really agree with that.
Absolutely.
Any more questions from folks who are watching? Yeah. Awesome. Sue, ooh, this is a small font question. I can't wait for this one. Sue, you're the ultimate competitor and a winner on so many levels. I just feel like you should like write this stuff on your mirror, whether you're Sue or not, and just like read it affirmation style, like ultimate competitor and a winner on so many levels, like win, win, win. Anyway, what are some fun things you get really competitive about off the court? Anything you and Megan get competitive about?
Megan and I actually aren't that competitive with each other.
Oh, that's great. Longevity and marriage on the horizon.
Yeah. Most recently though, we did start playing backgammon, and she didn't know the game at all. So this is like the classic, I was teaching her and I was kind of going through the moves and the strategy and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, fast forward, she actually beat me. That hurt.
That is such a good feeling. Oh, it hurt you. Yeah. Oh, bummer.
I was like, well, she was a little too happy about it. So there was that, you know, so the competitiveness snuck out a little bit. But no, generally speaking, Megan and I aren't competitive at all.
That's beautiful.
And I'm trying to think, the things I'm competitive about, I mean, everything. I'm actually really competitive off the court as well. But what I've found in my later life is I just kind of opt out. I don't want to be that competitive. So, you know, if my friends are playing, I don't know. I mean, most of this is in the form of drinking games. I'm just going to be honest. So if my friends are playing some sort of game, I definitely get competitive. But I'm more so now. When I was younger, I would just get all in. I'd get in the mix no matter what, even if it wasn't drinking games. Like if we're playing, you know, basketball or, you know, this sport or that sport, or we're playing cards, we're playing Monopoly, whatever. Super competitive. Now that I'm older, what I do is I just kind of I'll be like, no, I'm good. I don't want to play. I kind of remove myself from the competition because I know once I taste it, it's going to like light a fire.
Look at you growing up. Wow. So sage. Yeah. That's incredible. Christine and I have also started playing backgammon since the pandemic started. And we're looking for the backgammon board because the one we got's a little janky. So I might want to ask you about the backgammon set that you
So I got lucky. My family played. So, you know, my dad taught me how to play. And so I have the board from when I was a little kid.
That's amazing. Wow. That's great.
So it's like, yeah.
Any more questions? We have maybe 5 or 7 more minutes. Awesome. This talk is amazing. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Larry Green. A question for Sue as she reflects on her amazing journey. If you could give advice to your younger self, what would you say?
First, I'd be like, don't wear that. Don't wear that. Take that off. Don't wear that jean skirt. Don't wear that khaki skirt. Take them off. I joke, but it's true because my style in clothes has actually, I think, is actually like a metaphor of my like growth as a person. Because I think I was like trying to fit into a certain mold, whether it was to be feminine or to do this or to do that. And as I've kind of gotten to this place now where I'm a little more confident in myself and a little more sure of like who I am, I find that I can wear I find that I'm wearing the clothes that feel good to me. And with that, it actually exudes all the things that maybe I was trying to accomplish in these other clothes. And so I think I would just tell myself, like I said, clothes are kind of like this symbol, but I would just tell myself to, easier said than done, as we all know, just be confident in who you are. You know,
yeah, maybe even take time to discover it. I think when we were younger, it was just really easy to be at the limited too. And so there was a lot of khaki skirts everywhere. And so
nothing wrong with khaki skirts. Nothing wrong with khaki skirts. I just had this phase where I wore them a lot and it really wasn't me. So
I mean, yeah, Clueless happened. I get it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. So software development, I love this question. Thank you so much for this, Vandana. It's called a team sport. If given a chance, will Sue Bird lead a software development team at Google? Ooh, okay. Which favorite leadership skill from the court will you bring to the role? Wow.
Do you have to know about software or development? If you don't have to know about those things, then I'm in. So I think what I take with me that I've learned on the basketball court, is a couple things. I think there's something to, helping your teammates. There's something to helping them develop their confidence and kind of shine in their own roles, but also encouraging them to be themselves and not try to be. I think what happens in the world of basketball at times, and I'm sure it's the same in all businesses, you might see, somebody on your team excelling in certain ways because it's their strength and you almost want to do those things, but you have to remind yourself that you have strengths that they don't have. And so you have to constantly consistently bring those to the table. But the one thing that I find I say the most, and I say it so much that my team this summer, as like a big kind of, not a joke, but just like a lighthearted moment during the season, had t-shirts made with this quote on it. And I'll explain what it is. So the quote is, they play basketball too. And I say it a lot to my team because they're younger. We've actually been together now for this like core group for 4 years, but it started out where they were super young and I was the old one kind of guiding them along. So I've tried to instill certain things. And so I've been saying it for 4 years. So they have this t-shirt made. And what it means is, I think at times we go into our own competitions. We're playing against these other teams who, are trying to beat us. And what you're doing is you're preparing yourself to play well, and you're preparing to not allow them to play well. But they're going to have moments where they do well because like they play basketball too. Like they go to practice too. They're preparing too. They're trying to beat you too. And I just think it's this thing that I like for our team to have in the back of our minds, because what can happen in a game is, let's say we were playing against the Las Vegas Aces and we said, don't let Asia Wilson go backdoor. She loves to go backdoor. Don't let her do it. And then we get in the game and she goes backdoor because they play basketball too. And she goes backdoor and she scores. What you don't want is in that moment to allow it to like impact you, to get you down, to make you feel, like, oh crap. And then that can impact the rest of the game. Now you have this like shoulder slumped thing and the body language is terrible. And now you're all whacked out for the rest of the game. You want to have those moments come and be like, okay, they play basketball too. She got me that time. She won't get me again. And I just think there's a lesson there. There's a lesson there. Yeah. So yeah, my team pulled out that shirt and I was like, dang, I guess I say that too much. Whoops. Like they actually finish my sentence now. I'll be like, guys, and they'll be like, they play basketball too. I'm like, okay, well, at least you get it.
That's hallmarks of a great teacher, great coach.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Play basketball too.
Yeah,
amazing.
Like they do computer software too, whoever they is.
Yes. What's on your game day playlist?
It depends. Usually, like what's popular. My young teammates do keep me young in the music. So, if the season was happening right now, it would be like a lot of Megan Thee Stallion. There's always some Drake on there. And then old school wise, there's always some Jay-Z, always some Biggie. So definitely hip hop heavy on the game day playlist.
Nice. Should you like have a playlist that you want to, share with us that we could share with others after this talk? I would be amenable to sharing
okay with that?
And or playing it on repeat, just let us know.
Yeah. I do like making playlists, so.
Amazing. All right, with 1 minute left, I think we'll wrap up with one final question, and then if there's any final words that you have, we'll do that after this last question. So it comes from Kelsey Laro, and she's saying, will you be competing in the Olympics 2021? If so, how has that process been since the pandemic? Training, pushing the games back for another year, et cetera.
Yeah, so I do plan on competing in the 2020 Olympics. Like if I'm healthy, if I'm asked, all those things align. I'm playing at a high level. And again, if I get asked, 100% saying yes to that. But it has been different because one of the things we always encounter, our US national team, is we don't get the training time that other countries get because we have the WNBA, because a lot of us play overseas. We just don't get that time. So that's been even more difficult. So as a national team, we haven't been together since the last time we were together was February. So right before, everything shut down. Whereas other teams, they just had a tournament in November. They've been able to get together. So it's always what we kind of encounter, and it's always the big hurdle for us. But now it's even worse. We do have some trainings on the schedule, but it's all COVID pending. If they can make it safe, if we can all get there, and so. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just like everyone in terms of that. Like we're just trying to do the best we can. Like I try to work out and I just try not to be super hard on myself. Like, yes, I would love to be, working out on the court every day, but given everything, odds are I'm not gonna be able to do that. So I just try to be kind to myself and I try to get in the work when I can. Hopefully, knowing that when the time comes, I can be ready, but it's just a lot of unknowns. I mean, it's not that unlike, what everybody's going through, just a lot of big question marks, a lot of unknowns. And I'm just trying to not get caught in the highs and the lows of it. Just do what I can and stay kind of even keel about it. And whatever happens, happens.
I love that. And it's such a powerful place to end as we all seek to just kind of maintain and stabilize for what feels like it's going to be a longer season of unknown, navigating the world with COVID. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Sue. Is there anything else you want to say or kind of reflect on before we wrap?
No, just thank you for having me. Hope everybody had a good time, maybe escaped for 1 hour, and of course, stay safe, have wonderful holidays, but just be well in general. And thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Everyone else, make sure to subscribe to Talks at Google via the @TalksAtGoogle on Twitter and on YouTube, where you can catch this talk and other talks with incredible people like Sue. Happy holidays, everyone.